Now, always great to check in with our next guest. He's the Irish featherweight champion. He is, of course, Eric Donovan. How you doing?
Doing very well, Joe. Thanks very much. How are you keeping?
All good. Bit of sunshine doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. Oh, it's definitely a great mood lifter. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's making days a little bit easier for people now. The old sun in the sky, absolutely.
So, a bit of news for you. May 14th is what I'm reading. A European Union super-featherweight title fight against Mario Alfano. May 14th in Brescia is what we're hearing. Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always knew this fight was in the pipeline. Bit strange, though, in how the whole thing kind of manifested itself. Like, originally I was the mandatory challenger for Hatem Lemous, who is a Maltese boxer who beat Mario Alfano last December in Italy and became the European Union champion. So I was the mandatory challenger to face him for the title, and then subsequent to his victory over Mario Alfano, he failed a doping test. The Maltese boxer failed a doping test, so he was stripped of the title, and the Alfano was reinstated as a challenger, and I'm a challenger, so we're both challenging for the vacant belt on the 14th of May, and it should be an absolute cracker. And it's, Joe, from our interviews in the past, and I've always said, like, coming back after 3 years in retirement and dealing with everything I had to deal with and contend with during my, throughout some difficulties during my life, I feel like I'm in touching distance to reach a very, very good standard of professional boxing, and I would be very content if I can secure this European title. It would definitely be a kind of for me anyway, it'd be kind of like a job done or something like that,
No, I do, because I know these past 5 years, it's 5 years you're a professional now. In some ways it's flown by, which is mad. I know part of it is about making amends to yourself, almost making amends to the undoubted natural talent that you had, that you felt you didn't fully fulfill. I mean, I don't like whatever term you want to use. Squander's too harsh a word, because you did still achieve great things as an amateur, but I know you felt there was some unfinished business, let's put it that way, and that's part of what these 5 years are about.
Yeah, and I wanted to come back with a different kind of perspective, and not only a different perspective, but with a different attitude and a different application. I wanted to really, even though you mentioned it there, I achieved an awful lot while dealing with a lot as well, and dealing with a lot of dysfunction in my life. But I feel this time around, I'm coming from a different angle, a more honest, a more true, a more kind of committed, application, dedication and everything. And it's just more real for me now. It's more real, and it means so much more. And I'm working and earning everything that I'm getting, even though in the past, like, I was probably making things harder for myself to even achieve what I've achieved as an amateur. Is, if you really knew the full story, you'd be like, wow, how did he even do that? Or how did he even achieve that? So anyway, that's a story for another day. But like right now, over the last number of years, I came back with unfinished business. I wanted to have no regrets. Wanted to show my kids what it's like to go out there and to be true in the world, and to earn your way and to be successful. And sometimes you will fall. I fell last August against Zelfa Barrett, and on a big stage, on a big platform. But that's part of life. We will fall down in life. That's part of the course, par for the course. So, look, I'm in a great position now. I have 6 weeks ahead of me. Lucky enough, I'm not starting from scratch. I have been training. I was due to box in Belgium last week, and that kind of fell through. So I'm ready, I'm ready. I'll just put the foot down now next week, and over the next 4 weeks, I'll probably get a good few rounds sparring under my belt against good opponents, good sparring partners in Celtic Warriors Gym. And I'll kick on from there then, and hopefully go over to Italy and get the job done.
I can vividly remember the Zelfa Barrett fight in Eddie Hearn's back garden. It feels like a very COVID memory, not that we're fully out of it yet. How long did it take for you to put that to bed psychologically? We spoke a couple of days afterwards. You gave us the most brilliant breakdown of the fight, like a co-commentator expert couldn't have broken down the fight any more honestly. And you did that, and so you were dealing with it in a way. But in terms of the disappointment, how long did it take to get over that?
Well, not very long, because like in the past, I said to you that my boxing consumed my life, and I believed that I was only a boxer, and it was my whole identity, and the outcome of a boxing match would determine everything, my credibility, my happiness, my well-being, everything, and which was terrible, really, because I shouldn't have had that much pressure on myself. But today I know, I realize that I'm not just a boxer. There's more to me than as a human being than a boxer, and a boxer is just something that I do, and I do very well. So I prepared very well for the fight against Alpha Barrett, and I came up short. But I was able to turn around and say, you know what? I'm a winner. I'm a winner who just came up short on this time, but I'm a winner at life. And I will go again. And Alpha Barrett beat me on the day, but you should never be defined by one outcome of a match, one outcome of a fight, one outcome of an event. It's life is a journey, and I use it now as an experience, a learning experience. And I think when I go over to Italy, that's going to stand to me. The fact that I went over to fight Alpha Barrett in his home place, with him having all of the advantages on his home show and his kind of debut under the Matchroom banner and everything. So I'm going over to Italy to fight this Italian in his home show. So it's I'm going to draw from the Alpha Barra fight. I'm going to bring everything I learned from that fight with me going forward. So yeah, that's it. No, I was able to get over it very, very quickly.
One of my memories from the fight is you started so well against Barrett. You were all action, and from memory you talked afterwards, and I think you made the point that you need to increase your strength in some ways, that, as the fight went on, maybe you got a bit fatigued in watching. Even I could probably sense that, and it's not like I'm any kind of shrewd viewer of boxing. I'm very much a layman watching, but I could sense you getting that little bit tired. And then I think it was the 7th round and maybe the round before that, his power started to come into play. So that was one of the things I know you were going to try and focus on after that fight.
Yeah, definitely. I linked up with Packy Collins as well in the aftermath of that fight, because I feel like I need a bit more experience in my corner. Like, Kenneth Egan is a great boxer and he has produced at the highest level. He's an Irish amateur boxing legend, but very limited experience as a professional. But that's not taken away from what he has to offer. But I felt like I needed someone with experience for the long fights, for the professional sport, the longer rounds, basically. And so I spoke with Pascal, and there's a couple of things he said that really made so much sense. Like in round 6 or 7, he said I could have afforded to take a round off or two, and I never thought like that. I never thought that I could have taken a round off. But that's the way it is. That's the way professional boxing is. It's like a story that has chapters, and some chapters you have to lose. That's okay, because down the final stretch that you can come back and put, close out the story, in style. And so maybe looking back in hindsight, it's a great thing. But that's again another learning experience. So Packy's part of the team now, and I'm enjoying working with him. He has over 20 years experience as a coach, and he's been in some high level fights, with his boxers, with the likes of Stephen Ormond and Spike O'Sullivan, and that these guys have been in huge fights. He's also been in Kevin McBride's corner fighting Mike Tyson and all. So he's been around a long time. His own brother Steve as well, has boxed at the highest level, and Ireland's only 2-weight world champion, him and Carl Frampton. So he has a wealth of experience, and I'm lucky that I can draw from that. And again, I didn't train with I did no strength training for the Alpha Barrett fight, so I brought in a strength and conditioning coach, Seamus Power, Wexford man. So he's working with me now, and we're working virtually now over the last while. But we're working, and that's the main thing. We're working, and I'm going to make sure that I learn from the Alpha Barrett fight, and that I go in and tidy up those little, certainly small things, but they're big things in the grand scheme of things, yes. And it's at this level of profession in the sport, it's the small gains, it's the small margins, because even against Alpha Barrett, I could have afforded to do the same move I did in the 7th round against any of my previous opponents, and they probably wouldn't have been able to capture me with that same punch and capitalize on my, what would you say, lack of concentration, or me switching off just for that moment, just for that split second. And that's what I did. I switched off for a split second, and Zelfa took me out. So it's a different level, Joe. We're up at the elite level now.
It's very interesting. And is it a case, Eric, that it's Kenneth Egan out, Packy in, or are they working together, or what's the format of the team now? Because they're difficult conversations to have with Kenneth, who I know you respect hugely, and he's a friend as well. I mean, it's that tricky territory you're into when your professional world mixes with your friendships.
Yeah, I suppose it is. But like, you know, Ken has been sound. You know, you know what Ken said to me? The first thing he said to me was, Eric, you're dead right. Packy has 20 plus years experience, you know? So I thought that was a very mature and wise response from Ken. But no, it's not a case of Ken is out, but Packy is leading the charge at the moment. It's just because he is the one with the experience. He's the one I need. But Ken understands that this is a lifelong burning desire that I have to come back after retirement to go and fulfill my potential, fulfill a dream, you know? So I'd like to still have Ken around as, you know, assistant coach, a friend, like, you know, just somebody, a support. I'd rather have Ken in the circle than out of the circle, if you know what I mean. So it's good to have him there. He's good advice as well. And you know, he understands the importance of my career and the decisions that I have to make. Because even when I came back after retirement, one of the things that that I had, like, as I said, was having no regrets. And I had some regrets. And one of the reasons why I left Boxing Ireland Promotions as well and teamed up with Mark Dunlop was because I felt and I wasn't happy with where they were bringing me in my career. And I said, if I don't make this move now, I'm going to eventually finish up soon, or at some point, maybe over the next year or two, with the same kind of, in the same position that I came back for in the first place, having regrets. And I don't want that, you know. So there's a part of professional sport. It's like business. It's like, you know, you have to make tough decisions, and they're all part of the journey. And hopefully at the end, you know, I will become a European champion. I'll be happy, and, you know, I'll still have a lot of good memories and good friends and contacts around me. So that's the plan.
Or at least if you don't, and by the way, after this call, take away my little negative thought there and throw it over your shoulder and never think of it again. If you don't, at least then you're not regretting how you conducted your business this time around. At least you're able to say to yourself, well, it did or it didn't happen, but ultimately I gave it my best shot. I'm not sitting here saying I should have made that change and that change and that change, and why didn't I?
Yeah, I agree. It's better to go out and do everything that you feel is right. Do everything that you feel is the right thing to do and fail than going out there and not making those decisions and coming up short anyways, you know what I mean? So I'd rather go out there, make the decisions, do the things I have to do, and if I come up short, I come up short, but at least I'll be able to live with myself.
Yes. A very interesting point Packy Collins made to you about taking a round off in that Zelfa Barrett fight, by the way. I would suspect you haven't taken a round off in your life.
No, I didn't know, and I haven't, you know, and that's what I'm learning the game from I'm learning the game completely different. Like the amount of coaching that I'm getting, like during the sparring, it's just ongoing. And I'm not saying that in a kind of a like, you know, people might be thinking, oh, you're being coached too much or whatever. No, it's just like the things that I'm hearing are the things that are making so much sense. Where in the past I would have been just boxing at 100 mile an hour. I could be doing 6 rounds of sparring or 8 rounds of sparring in the past, and every round would be 100 mile an hour, you know, like I'm known for my speed, I'm known for my stamina, I'm known for my footwork, and I'd be jumping around, running around the ring. And, you know, and then if you look at any of them in the top level, like elite level, you know, you watch them, you know, watch how they preserve energy, watch how they come down off their toes, watch how they only move when they need to move, when it's absolutely essential to move. And when it's absolutely necessary, only then should you be moving. So I was moving around. I was flying around the ring against Zelfa Barrett, and I'd no need to, you know, because you should only move when it's absolutely necessary to move, you know. When there's a train coming, just jump out of the way. But you don't have to be continually running and running and running and moving around. So I felt like even now, even just that little adaptation to coming down off my toes, preserving energy, relaxing a bit more, and tactically working out the rounds and tactically trying to win them. Because whether you win a round by 30 punches or 5 punches, you still only win the round 10-9, unless you knock them down or whatever. Then it's a 10-8. So I could this was another thing Packy said, that I could probably still win the rounds that I was winning by doing 20% less. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's really interesting. So like, you know, if you get down the line, say you get this system really cultivated, you could win a round in the first minute and then try and take the next 2 minutes off, and you'd have a sense of where you are in the fight. And you know, because you were so busy in that Barrett fight, and it was eagerness and it was honesty of effort. It was everything you want, but it's almost the bit of craft you're talking about here.
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. Yeah. So like, as I say about Selfa Barrett, like, you know, he trusted in his power. He believed in his power. He backed himself. He came out swinging, but he was frustrated, and I had him frustrated because he knew the rounds were getting away from him, and the fight was running out. The time was running out. And he just came out, even looking back at that fight, if you watch round 6, he came out all guns blazing, and I made him miss every single time. And then in the 7th round, I made him miss again. And I was actually, I think the 7th round up until I got caught was actually one of my best rounds. I was even watching it back, I'm like amazed at myself, because I'm like, wow, Jesus, this is unreal. Like, you know, I'm boxing out of my skin here. And then it's bang, it's lights out in a split second. And, you know, was like he only had to get lucky one time. I had to get lucky every time.
No, it's because I remember a load of tweets from that night from fellow boxers, fellow pros saying you outboxed him. You know, he kind of got away with it a little bit. So I guess, look, at least what you can take from that fight is 1, the learning experience, and 2, that you were at that level, more than at that level, which is a great thing to take into this fight. So your training, that was interesting about your strength training. Like, so what the hell do you mean you weren't focused on your strength training before the Barrett fight? What does that mean?
Well, I didn't, like, the only strength training I was doing was kind of like circuit training, like with dumbbells, kettlebells, you know, body weight exercises, but that's not enough. You need to be in the gym lifting free weights. You need to be doing, you know, bench, squats, deadlifts, you know what I mean, hipsters, chin-ups, you know, pulling weights, pulling 10, 15, 20 kilo up over a chin-up bar tied to your waist. That's the kind of stuff that I'm doing now, hanging down, doing tricep dips, lifting 20 kilos, you know, 20 kilos hanging out my weights. That's the kind of stuff that's going to give me a bit of a sturdiness, what would you say, a sturdy stature in the ring, you know. So
your core as much as everything.
Loads of core work involved in my new strength training as well. So I can't be knocked around. I can stand my ground basically. And you're going to have to, like, my next fight, Joe, is going to be a 12-round fight. I've never boxed in a 12-round fight in my life, but I've never even boxed in a 10-round fight. I've done 8 rounds 3 times. And I was in 2 scheduled 10-round fights. The first one was the Irish title fight, but I stopped Stephen McAfee halfway through that fight, so we never went to 10 rounds. And the next one was against Selfa Barrett, and that only got to the 8th round. So, you know, I'm going to box for 4 rounds longer than I've ever boxed before, the biggest fight in my life in 6 weeks' time. But you know, I'm not saying that to talk myself out, but I'm saying that with fire in my belly. You know, I'm ready this time. I'm leaving no stone unturned.
And do you feel better for that S&C work with Seamus Power? Do you notice a difference in your sparring even?
Oh, hugely, and as well in with the adaptation of my style now, you know, coming down a little bit off. When you're up on your toes, like anything, if someone, like even on a football pitch or on the Gaelic pitch or whatever, soccer or Gaelic or rugby or whatever, if you're running fast, really, really fast, and someone gives you a shoulder, they'll knock you off easy. You'll knock you off kilter. So when I'm up on my toes, that's when you're at your lightest. I'm very amateurish up on my toes. I'm moving around. It's stylish. It's nice. It's, you know, it's pretty. But when you get hit or when you get knocked, it doesn't even have to be hitting the head or hitting the body. When you get hitting the shoulder or the arms or whatever, the force can knock you over and knock you off, and you can look like you're being kind of knocked off kilter or whatever. But when you come down a little bit and come down off your heels a little bit and come down off your toes and onto your heels, and then sit there, still be ready to move at any moment, and you're poised basically, but you have a much better kind of structure, a much better, stronger platform. And when you punch then as well, you're punching from your flat feet, which is more power in your shots rather than punching while you're up on your toes, where you're not rooted to the ground properly. So little small things, small gains.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. All makes perfect sense. You're breaking the habits of a lifetime, which is not easy as well,
It's not easy, no. But I suppose the thing is about me is I'm a teachable guy. I want to learn. I want to get, even at 35 years. Geez, I was going to say I was 36 there for a minute. Talking about Dennis Hogan there a while ago. He's 36, but I'm 35 going on 36. But even now at this age, I'm hungry as ever.
So your opponent then, we're talking here with Eric Donovan if you're just tuning in. So the good news is May 14th, he's got a European super featherweight title fight against Mario Alfano in Brescia. And you're the mandatory challenger. So Alfano, as you said, he was beaten in the previous fight for this belt by Lamuz, who has since tested positive, doping violation there. And that's a whole other area in the sport we should talk about sometime and get your sense of. But so he's gone for obvious reasons. He's banned. So Alfano and yourself will fight it out now for this vacant belt. He has 15 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. So 15 wins. I didn't get to check his age. Is he pretty young guy, or what's he about then, Eric?
No, he's 30. He's 30 years old.
So only 15 wins, 2 losses. It doesn't sound like he's pro all that long either. He doesn't that many fights.
No, I actually think he's a professional around the same time as me. Right. Maybe a year before or something like that. But okay. We're actually quite similar in terms of record and stuff like that, because
you're 13 wins. He's 15 wins. You're 13 wins.
Yeah. So we're kind of similar enough, so it's going to be a nice fight. It's going to be like he's a 12-round fighter. That's the thing with him. He's a kind of a late starter. He doesn't come into the contest until, maybe 3rd, 4th round. He warms right into it, and he's not got the best footwork. So that's an area where I'm going to look to capitalize him. He's quite sluggish, a little bit sluggish on his feet, but when he gets in. When he gets into the pocket, and if he has you in his grasp, he'll go to work on you, and he's a bit of a tank. He's a bit of a tank. He's small, he's stocky, and he lets the hands go, and he's a bit of a, you don't want to be in there. You don't want to be in there because in a 12-round fight he can start to chop you down a bit, and I'm just going to have to be so smart. I'm going to have to be so smart with tactics and my strategies, because as I said, you were talking about the Zelfa Barra fight being a 10-round fight, and I was looked to be getting tired in round 6, 7. That would be the halfway point of my next fight, So I'm going to have to be so smart and preserve my energy and win cutely and tactically. But at the same time, it's going to be in Italy, and it's going to be in his backyard. So I can't really take any chances and say, oh, well, I'll just win this round by 2 or 3 punches, and I'm going to get the round. If it's a bit close, the way boxing is very subjective. And
subjective
it annoys me sometimes.
Subjective is a good word for it. Yeah, I think that's a euphemism.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating at times. I've seen some quite bad results over the last few months, and really terrible stuff. So yeah. I can't leave it in the judges' hands. I have to be able to be clinical, to be decisive, and to get it done, in a way that they can't look past me. That's how I'm going to prepare for this fight. I know I'm superior. Than him in many different departments. My speed, my footwork, my boxing IQ, I think, is on a different level than his. So the one thing I got to make sure is that I'm disciplined, that I don't get involved in a scrap with him, that I don't fall into the trap, because he wants me to do that. But I got to be so smart and disciplined throughout.
Well, listen, it's fascinating as ever talking to you, and we must talk again in the build-up to the fight. Your line is just about hanging on. I don't know if you can hear me, but it would be remiss of us not to mention Dennis Hogan. He came up already there, beaten in Australia this lunchtime to Tim Tszyu, who was very impressive by all accounts. I know you watched the fight, so tough afternoon for Dennis. Are you gone, Eric?
he went to box the superstar from Mexico.
Sorry, Eric.
Hello?
We just lost you. Did you
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
I heard the question, yeah.
Oh,
will I answer?
Yeah, ideal, yeah. If you heard the question, then I'll let you take it away with your answer, and then I'll say goodbye to you, yeah. So you can fire ahead.
Yeah. We were talking about subjective there just a short while ago, and Dennis Hogan. Every time I hear of Dennis Hogan, I always think of the subjective decision that went badly against him, against Jamie Mungai in April 2019. He was dead cert to be a world champion. He should have been a world champion. He absolutely boxed out of his skin. One of the best performances from an Irish boxer in an away contest, and sadly he never got the decision. So he was absolutely mugged. He had 2 fights since that. One against Jermall Charlo, and he came up short in round 7. That was at a middleweight, so he stepped up weight for that. And then last in the early hours of this morning against Tim Tszyu, the son of the famous Costa Tszyu, who was a superstar pound for pound champion. And I mean, what can I say about Dennis Hogan? Gallant as always, gave 100%, but Tszyu was just on a different level, and I don't think anybody really expected Tszyu. Well, a lot of people were saying good things about him, but they thought Dennis Hogan was going to test him and really, really test him. But to be fair to Dennis, he tried so hard, but Tszyu's body shots were just absolutely crippling. Dennis got a good start, but then Tszyu came into the fight and took him out of there. But what can I say? Dennis Hogan is always going to be a winner, always going to be a champion. He's came up the hard way. He's had a lot of tough battles in his life, and his amateur career. He lost so much in his amateur career that I never thought that he would go on to carve out such a career as a professional. Because he always came up short in the Irish Elite Championships and the Senior Championships. But, he turned his whole career around, turned his whole life around in Australia. And, as I said, should be a world champion, but he's not. But he's definitely given the Irish people and the Australian people in his adopted homeland, something to smile about and cheer about. And he'll always go down as an Irish boxing legend, I think.
Good man. Listen, always great having you on. Eric Donovan, thanks so much, Eric. Cheers.
Thank you, Joe.